go. Your presence in this meeting assumes that your voice and likeness shall be recorded and therefore used by the Seekers Guild LLC. Hope you're all doing very good. Okay, so I see Brian Trampush is trying to get in here. Let's see if Brian's in. Hey, Troy.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you go ahead and show us your handsome face?
I'm doing that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Looks like my my camera's having some issues here. Let's see what we got.
Brian joined us. He's on the chat right now. All right, there you go.
Camera's had some issues recently.
You just need to choose your camera probably if you've got multiple cameras. That's what I usually do. How do you like my PowerPoint slide?
I tell you, that's a good looking slide, my friend.
That's sexy or what?
That is. I tell you, it's just better every week. It's better and better. I love it. All right, so I am having some options, more webcam options.
Camera options. You got all kinds of options going on today.
Yeah, I've got preferences here.
Look at this, and I think I got something going on here. Let's see. See that? Moving around. I've got some stylus action going on here, so I can.
Have you got some new toys?
I got toys, man.
I love it.
Because I'm an entrepreneur, you know. I got all the fancy technology.
Let's see. Default. Let's see if default.
Yep.
Apply. Let's see. Is that doing it?
I don't know.
No, still can't see my lovely face. What's going on here?
I don't know, man.
Default. Okay. Let's see. No. We might have to go without my beautiful face, and I primped for this, so.
Wow. Primped. Well, okay.
I did.
You know, I like to know that you've been primping for our session. That's kind of cool.
Brother, I want to show up looking sharp.
Okay. Well, all good.
All right, bud. I think we're going to have to go without moi.
All right. You know, sometimes it's just going to be all about me. Sometimes it's all about you. No big deal. Be about you, brother.
But how's that audio? Is that if you actually could see me? This audio sounds.
I can hear you. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
I'm using my new audio. Well, it's not new. It's several years old, but I get to use it more. My Audio Technica podcasting microphone on its stand. So I look really professional on this side.
Okay, that's cool. I like professionalism. You know, I've got like multiple screens going on here, and that's the funny thing because can you see behind me?
Yes, I can.
So this is my office at home. Okay, my wife has kind of helped me try to make it a little less looking like a closet as much as it is an office, and but it's kind of funny because I've got quite the rig here, and it keeps evolving because I keep changing things. Let me show you real quick since we're on here and we don't get a chance for everybody to see. So I'm going to pick up this camera. See, you see me right here. Hello. How are you? How are you? Yes. Do you see that? Okay.
Handsome.
It's the big nose. People like that. All right. So I'm going to show you my rig. So I'm going to just show you mine. So we're going to go on a little bit of remote. Whoa! What's going on with my video? My video got jacked up. Okay, here it is. Okay. So good thing I was ready for my close-up. Okay, so here's my stuff. Okay, and I'm going to back out a little bit. So this is my 44-inch 4K display.
Oh my God, brother, that is
sexy. What?
Dang. That's productive. That just has production written all over it, man. I love it.
Yes, and then this, of course, is my 27-inch display, along with my Surface tablet that's mirroring the work. You see?
That is awesome.
And then, of course, this, again, because this is, you know, our office, me and my wife share it. My wife's got her rig back here, a dual monitor with a Surface as well. So she seems to like that. That makes her happy. And believe me, you got to keep the wife happy or you're never going to be happy. And then behind me is my my standing rig right there, which is another, you know, setup. So I kind of alternate between systems because I like to stand up versus sit down. So anyway,
they're all networked,
fancy,
right?
but there's a lot of technology involved in what I do here. So when I'm monitoring my business, I've got a lot of screens going on. It's kind of like a data center in a way, because that's kind of how I roll with managing the business here. So this is my standard setup, and this is really set up for presenting because I like to use my pen, which is this Surface Pen, and it really comes in handy. So I'm going to put you back in your position here. So we're going to see a little wobble, hopefully not too much. So hopefully all you guys out there, you know, you kind of see how I set up my workstation. So if that becomes a question, I'd let that be the answer.
Love it.
And the reason why I do it that way, just so everybody understands, is that I'm a very visual person. I like to see what's going on. And I also like the variety. It kind of works with my creativity. Anyway, so
I love it, man. That's and awesome. Office setups are my thing.
What's even more funny is I got another Surface device right here. So that's kind of sitting on my spare, and then I got another one. Then I have about 20 different tablets that I use whenever I'm not sitting at this desk. So I don't like to sit at my desk all day. That's the freedom that you know, I allow myself. Is I get a lot of little gadgets here and there. You know, I use them depending on where I'm at. So if you guys ever have a QA session or have questions about how to run your business, it's better to have lots of tools, because tools kind of make the job fun, but at the same time, you become productive in many different ways. But let's go ahead and get this thing started, Troy. I know people are going to start checking in, and this is a recorded session. So what I wanted to do here, and I'll just set the big picture stage and I'll let you go forward as well, is that I wanted to do this because we're coming up to the holidays, and we've got a number of new drop shippers that have joined the group at different levels, and there's some folks that are experienced drop shippers that may not have been through a holiday season yet. And what I wanted to be able to do here is kind of set the stage for where we are today versus where we're going to go, and answer some questions. A number of the questions I have come from our Facebook group. People have asked questions. They've checked in with Nathan, our new site administrator, and I've applied those questions to this PowerPoint slide that I've just developed for this presentation. But also, this is stuff that, you know, comes off the top of my head, because when I was a new drop shipper, literally starting in the fall of last year, you know, going through my first holiday, you know, it was hard for me to get questions answered. There wasn't a lot of resources. Even though I was part of another group, I just didn't get all the information I needed to really successfully, you know, navigate the waters. And, you know, it gets a little bit complex at this time of the year, because the velocity at which you are going to be getting orders, if you're pricing properly. Now keep in mind, if you're not pricing properly, it'll be a different story. But if you price your product properly, you're going to get a number of more orders than you're used to. And as a result, the reason for this whole thing is to literally kind of ask the questions that you maybe haven't thought of, ask some questions that you have already thought of, get some interactivity from some folks, maybe get some new questions, and just kind of help everybody along so that they're prepared and have something to refer back to, specifically tailored for this year, 2016. So now I'm going to hand it off to you, Troy, and let you go ahead and start your thing there.
Well, fabulous. Brian, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Thank you very much for asking.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, you know, what I've seen in the marketplace is, you know, for the past 10 years, as I personally were looking for my jailbreak process and what that might be, I've seen everything from network marketing, which is a great industry with the right people and the right company. And then I've seen internet marketing with Russell Brunson, got to work on some intimate projects directly with Russell. And then I actually helped build his high-ticket coaching program. And I got to see the workings of and what's available for individuals out there who are looking for additional income streams from home. And of all those different programs, drop shipping with Amazon, with e-commerce, because of the timing, it just lit me up more than anything I've seen, because it's you and a laptop, baby. You and a laptop sitting down, paint by numbers, and you can create an income that is significant, as you have done in Trampush, Mr. Trampush, and numerous others within a 12-month time frame, create a six-figure net income. And anybody who's been in this industry understands, or been around and looking for projects like myself to jailbreak their job or to increase cash flow, understand that that is not typical. It's just not how it works. And so when I saw drop shipping, and I was witnessing individuals like yourself and Brian Trampush and Carrie and Stacy creating six-figure per year incomes in a 12-month time frame, it turned me on. It fired me up. And so that's one of the key things that I want to really focus in on before we dive really into the question specifically to drop shipping is what, your background, Brian, what you've done, and when you got involved with drop shipping, what specifically you see as the biggest challenges. Because one of the biggest negatives we can do to people is to make it sound as if it's easy. Now, for an entrepreneur, this is easy. For somebody who's never been in business before, it's going to be really hard, but very doable. It's going to be very hard. And here's the other aspect of it. Compared to the other companies and industries that I've described, it really is the easiest thing for somebody who's never been an entrepreneur before. Yeah. It's going to be easier than network marketing. It's going to be easier than internet marketing. Drop shipping is going to be challenging for you. And so that's really the question I've got for you, Brian, is what has been your experience since you've been drop shipping? The blessings and those no BS, we don't like to talk about it sometimes, but we're going to talk about this is the hard stuff and the frustrating aspects of it. And then what are the outcomes? What can you really see for people on that other side, like you are now experiencing? What's it like to be a successful drop shipper in a 12-month time frame, earning great money? And take it away.
Well, it actually is pretty cool. But so keep me on track, because I want to make sure that I answer all your questions, and I also want to make sure that we have enough time to answer all the other questions that we have going on. But just to give you a little bit of a background, I started drop shipping. Well, let me just go back even further. Occupationally, I was a project manager, a program manager in healthcare. And what that means is essentially what I did is I brought in a lot of technologies to my companies that I've worked for in the past, and implemented those technologies to solve business problems. So I have a bit of a background in terms of how to get things started, running, and then and running smoothly. So that's kind of been my career for the last almost 20 years. I have a master's degree in business and accounting, and a bachelor's degree in finance. So I've been in the really a lot of time in technology, but I've also been involved in the business aspect of the companies that I've been involved in terms of understanding how the money flows within the company, how you prepare for expenses, how you project sales, and then using the money that you get from all that to manage the business in terms of an expenditures perspective. So I've got a very business background. I've been a financial analyst. I've been in sales. I've been in healthcare. I've been in retail marketing. I've been in. I even have my own separate software development business. But I've also worked in government. So I've had a pretty broad occupational background. And for the last few years, I've been working in primarily healthcare, taking technologies and helping and using the technologies to essentially outfit the business so that it could execute more effectively. And that's what I do. I've always used technology to solve a business problem and then have that business benefit from the use of that technology. And it's been varied from software to hardware solutions to services, and just using those to benefit the business. And so that's kind of where I come from. My wife, she's not in this session right now, but my wife has always been in sales. She's been in real estate. She's always been an entrepreneur. In fact, when we first met, she was actually a manicurist, and so she did nails. And so she's always been in some kind of form of business or another. And really what the reason why we kind of started drop shipping was to really just look for a way to help pay for college. So that's kind of my why, because all my kids are grown right now. They're my youngest one is a senior in high school, and we send our kids to private high schools. So that's expensive, and then all our kids are going to college. I've got a daughter here at a local college, and then I've got a son out in Central California at UC Santa Barbara. So all my kids are either, I mean, essentially the bottom line is education is expensive, and I needed another way to help pay for that. A lot of folks, they look at loans. They try to figure out and get loans from family members. They get loans from banks and all that to pay for education. And I thought, well, there's got to be a better way. I don't want to saddle my kids down with loans. I don't want to saddle down myself with loans. I don't want to jeopardize my retirement paying for my kids' college education. So I needed another way to do it. And so what we did was we looked around for other businesses, and I was looking at Amazon. We've always shopped at Amazon. And we thought, well, gosh, I could sell it from Amazon. Maybe I could earn a couple of bucks doing that. And the ironic part is I thought maybe I could earn maybe a couple of $100 a month when I started. So I started working with some groups thinking like that. And then as I learned more about this business and learned more that, there was an opportunity for me to, start drop shipping, I still didn't understand when I started that I could earn a lot more money. I was still of the mentality that I'll just try it, see if it works. I'm a program project manager. I'll set up a pilot and see how it works. I'll set up a project plan. Yeah, very, very nerdy stuff. And then I'll follow a process and get this thing executed. Still, if my goal was to earn just, if I'm lucky, $1,000 a month on it, profit. Well, the funny thing is I learned real fast that I can earn a lot of money very, very quickly. And that's kind of what happened. It kind of just blew up on me, my first month, I sold a few $100s, and that made me really, really happy. And then all of a sudden the next month I earned well over $12,000, $13,000. And so it went from a few $100s to $12,000, and that's an exponential increase in results. And so I started developing more and more of a project plan so that I could make this, work even better for me. And so that's kind of what I did, and that was the result, and it just kind of blew up. And, very, very quickly, we were selling, $100,000 a month in sales. And part of it was in part because we started, kind of at the end of the summer and coming into the holidays, the fall time period, and sales just went nuts. And I also, I made some good alignments with some other drop shipping companies, and it just kind of all fell into place. But I learned a lot from it, and now we do really well. And again, this is just a part-time thing for me for the most part. I manage the drop shipping business on a very, very part-time basis. I brought in some staff to help me out. And because I'm a project manager, by training, I knew how to train people. I knew how to create processes, and I knew how to essentially execute on them. And so I do a lot of work with very few resources. I still only have 3 VAs right now out in the Philippines. My son actually helps me do a bunch of listing, but he works a little bit less now that he's back in school. My daughter helps me a little bit here and there, but really I don't have a lot of staff, and I spend probably 8 hours a week, at the most, managing my business. Really, my team. I've taught my team to manage my business for me. So if you're a good manager, you can really manage this business on a part-time basis. There are other people that do this full time and literally knock it out of the park. And Brian Trampush is an example of that. But really, it's what this business has enabled me to do is really feel very comfortable about paying for my children's education. And that's important to me because that's the only reason why I started a second business, is because I needed a way to figure out how to pay for my children's education. And I didn't have a lot of needs and expectations that this was going to be it. But at the same time, as I progressed and I learned and I developed my entrepreneur mentality, I learned that I could earn a really good income doing this. And on top of that, I was like, wow, other people could benefit. I have a different style of my own. I'm very analytical. I'm methodical. I understand processes. And a lot of people, they think that way as well. And if you can show people a methodology on how to do things and answer the questions that they're asking themselves and intuitively, help them, essentially sell it to themselves that they can do it, you can help a lot of people. And so that's why you and I got together and started the Seekers Guild, because we knew that this was a business that pretty much anybody could run. They just have to have good expectations in terms of what they're going to get out of it. And I don't like to set the expectations with people in our group that they're going to earn $1 million the first year. I mean, it really is a big number, and you have to be pretty well committed to do it, and you have to understand how to really just delegate the work to your staff if you develop a staff. It's also a good business to run on your own. I mean, if you want to keep it low key, and you just want to run a business on your own and not have it be too stressful, you can definitely do that. It's up to you how you want to run your own business, but you do have to have a entrepreneur mentality, understanding that you're going to spend some money to earn money. You're going to have to work hard in the beginning, because that's what I did. I worked really hard. I didn't hire anybody till November of last year, so I was 6 months in. Let's see, July, August, September, October, November. I was 4 months in before I hired my first person. And then I hired 2 more right after that. But it took me a little bit of time to get there, because I needed to understand how everything worked first, and then train someone, and then train another person, and train another person. But what I did is I developed the process, and then I transitioned it to my people to work entirely themselves for the most part. But that's kind of how I got here, and that's what we're trying to do today. Is we're really trying to, help people develop their own businesses at whatever level they want to do. It's not my ambition to turn everybody into a $1 million seller on Amazon. I don't think everybody wants to do that. I don't think everybody, wants or has the ambition to do that. But you can develop this to be whatever it is you want, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. Does that answer your questions, Troy?
Oh, this perfectly. It's exciting. I love hearing your story. I love the fact that you just leverage your systems, you leverage resources, and you did it. You created it. So excited.
On a part-time basis. So I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there. They have their own experience from whatever occupational background they came from. And if you just learn to, take whatever it is that you learned in life to, get you wherever you are today, you can take that experience and develop a really good business on it. You just have to come in with good expectations, and then just do it. Just do it. But, with us, you get to do it. We'll hold your hand a little bit. We help you, get established. We show you the ropes in terms of how to do specific key areas of the business, and then we just help you on your way.
Well, and I think that's the last thing I've got to comment on, is the fact that you actually one-on-one, not you in a group, that we do that too, but you one-on-one with an individual, because everybody's got a different learning style, everyone's got their different archetype and stuff, and for you to be able to customize and walk with them through the process one-on-one, I think has been the biggest game changer with this coaching program compared to everything else out there in the market.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I learned all that in my previous occupational experience, because I've had to train people from all different walks of life to learn how to use systems. Okay, so that's important, because this is a system. If you take what we teach you here, you develop a system. Now you have to customize it to your personality, your own personal style. But what I've learned is to take people and train them how to use a system as it is. Answer and anticipate their questions. So anticipate their questions, answer their questions, and give them enough information to get started, and let them develop their own process. And wherever people need help, extra help, I'm happy to help out. Especially when we're doing our 20 sessions, because that's when we really get to know each other, and then we get to really talk about the business and kind of learn from from the client, figure out what their styles are, and then take the business and tailor it to what they want to do, how they want to accomplish their work. And that's kind of what I've learned how to do over the years, is just teach people in their language, whether they're, visual, whether they're, auditory, whether they want to read stuff. That's what I like to do. I like to just figure out what their learning style is and just, work with them to get them to, a point where they're confident to run their own business on their own.
It's fantastic, Brian. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, man, I would love to just dive into those key questions that people have that some people get stuck on, so we can help them get through it and get their dropshipping businesses rocking. So back over to you, brother.
Okay, so let's go to our first slide here, if I can get there today. Whoa, got too fast. Okay, so what I wanted to do is just, because again, we've got new folks, I wanted to make sure everybody understands what drop shipping is. Now, some people have their own, intuitive understanding of what drop shipping is. Some people have heard what, from other people what drop shipping is, and then, as they come into this group, they develop their own picture of drop shipping. But just let me come in with a good basic understanding or definition of what drop shipping is, because at the most basic level, you're a business owner. Okay, you are establishing a business to sell product. That's the first thing we have to understand, is that this is a business. Okay, it's not a job, it's a business. Okay, and then you as the drop shipper or the business owner, you have established a business where you are going to either do the work yourself, a job, or you're going to employ people to work for you, create a business. So that's the first thing we have to understand. Okay, second thing, okay, so how does drop shipping work? Well, basically, you go out and list a product for sale, and the customer buys that product. Okay, for us right now, we're looking at the Amazon Marketplace. So you'll list a product on the Amazon Marketplace. Your customer will buy from that listing on the Amazon Marketplace, from that listing. Okay, so that's the first thing they do. So you list a product, customer buys the product. Okay, second thing, okay, you get that order fulfilled for the customer. Okay, using an online retailer or other source. Okay, and what you do is you charge a markup fee for that sale. So if you sell an item to a customer that costs $100, you're going to sell that to the customer, say $150 or $130. But you're going to mark it up, because what you want to be able to do is cover your costs. And so there are costs involved. The online retailer will actually do the shipping. You don't touch the product at all. This is the beautiful thing about drop shipping, is that you don't touch the product at all. You list the product on a marketplace like Amazon. The customer buys it. You go to your source retailer, online retailer, or other source, and you get them to fulfill the order for you. This is the part about drop shipping that's key, is that you're listing the product for sale, the customer buys the product, you are going to someone else and buying the product on behalf of the customer and having it sent to the customer. So the cost of shipping is bared by the retailer. Sometimes you pay the cost of shipping, but you put that into the price that you list that product for. Okay, I hope everybody's with me on that. If not, just rewind the video on this when you get it. Now, after the retailer ships that product to the customer, your customer, you're going to ensure that the item is actually delivered. So you're going to follow the product, making sure that it gets to that customer. Oftentimes, 99% of the time, your online retailer that's your business partner essentially will give you a tracking number. You'll take that tracking number, you'll inform the customer of the tracking number so they can track it, but you're going to make sure that that product gets delivered back to that customer. Okay, drop. Okay, and then finally, if that product is delivered to the customer and it's not damaged or anything like that, the customer will use it and they'll be happy. Okay, and you will have earned a profit on the item. And of course, you're going to pay Amazon a little bit of money for it. You pay for the product that you're getting from the retailer, but then you get a profit on top of it. That's the idea of drop shipping. Okay. Now, if the customer has to return the product for some reason, you will manage the return process. Okay, meaning that the customer will contact you, the drop shipping business, and say, I want to return the item. You say, okay, fine, no problem. Here's my terms. Customer returns the item, and you will facilitate the return of the product back to wherever you got it from, okay? And then you'll refund that customer, okay? But that's the big picture of what drop shipping is. That's the nutshell of what this business is. It's pretty simple in that you never take physical inventory of a product at all, okay? So that's the key here to drop shipping is you don't take inventory. You use someone else like Walmart or anybody else to manage the inventory side of things. So you're never taking inventory. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to count inventory, none of that stuff. All you're doing is facilitating the sale of a product using a third party. In this case, it could be Walmart, okay? And then you ensure that the product is delivered to the customer and that if there's any customer service activity that's required by the sale, that you manage it, okay? And then you just ensure that that customer is ultimately happy. That's the big picture drop shipping overview. And I wanted to make sure everybody understood that because, you know, when you come into this business, you know, you have specific, you know, preconceived notions. And so what I wanted to do by providing this overview is to make sure that everybody was on the same page, level set in terms of understanding this business, okay? So that's the big picture of this business. There's a lot of details that get involved in that. And that's not our place here to explain all that today. But I wanted to just make sure that everybody understood that as we go forward because it sets the stage for what we're trying to do next, which is really just get everybody prepared for the holidays and just start answering questions that have been asked, okay? So let me go ahead and get started here. All right, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do when you start your dropshipping business, when you get into this holiday period, and it's critical, is that you need to have good store policies, okay? Store policies are the rules that you govern your business by that are outward facing to your customer, okay? So that's really important because if you don't have store policies right here, guys, whoa, look at that. I overshot the runway. There we go. If you don't have good store policies, what's going to happen is you're going to lose a lot of money, okay? Or your customer is going to be confused over over what you do or what you will do or what your service level is to them whenever you have to return a product. So how do you establish store policies? So that's an important thing to understand, everybody. You need to make sure that on your Amazon store or whatever marketplace you're drop shipping from, you need to make sure that you have published store policies set up so that your customer knows exactly how to return an item, under what conditions they can return an item, what types of items are not returnable. You want to make sure that you establish some kind of a return stocking fee, and you want to make sure that you established who will pay for return shipping. Okay, and in Amazon that's going to change, and we'll get into that in a minute, but I want to make sure that you guys understand that on our Seekers Guild resource page, we have a sample store policy in there. I would take that and look at it, review it, and establish it, and maybe adjust it to fit your business a little bit. But you need to have a basic store policy out there so that your customers know who they're dealing with and what they can and can't do with returns. Because what that does is that sets the stage for how you will behave when a customer says, I want to return something, okay? And make sure everybody understands how they're going to operate on each side of the fence there. Okay, so in terms of requirements, like I said, you need to say who you are, how you will return products, whether they will ship it to you or whether they won't. Again, that kind of changes a little bit, and I'll get into that. If there's a restocking fee, what items are returnable and what items are not returnable. And this is important just so you understand, because things like lithium-ion batteries, you've already heard about the Samsung Note 7. Those things are not invited to airplanes. Once they've been opened up and used, lithium-ion batteries are volatile, and if they're damaged, they could explode. And so there's an FAA regulation that prohibits lithium-ion batteries from getting on an airplane, okay? Now, there are exceptions, like your cell phones have lithium-ion batteries, and so they can get on the airplane. In the case of the Note 7, those are explicitly denied getting on an airplane. But also, if you look at the FAA regulations, basically any product that has been returned or is being returned, they won't let them on a plane, okay? So your big retailers like Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot will not accept returns for items that have lithium-ion batteries. So keep that in mind. That is part of their return shipping policy. So you need to make sure that's in yours, okay? Again, minimum restocking fee, that's a personal preference, but keep in mind, whenever you sell a product, again, I'm going to use Amazon Marketplace as an example here because that's primarily where I ship or sell from. Amazon will still charge you a commission, okay? It's a maximum $5. I think it's 3.5% of the actual selling price. So you're still going to incur fees whenever you do a return. Depending on who you buy from, you may incur a restocking fee from them, okay? Depending on who you buy from, if you paid for shipping for that item, they will not refund your shipping costs, okay? So that's an incurred cost of doing business, okay? So you should establish a return stocking fee to cover those costs. Otherwise, you're going to lose money, okay? And that's important because you don't want to lose money in your business. This is not a charity. This is a business, okay? And so you want to be assertive in terms of how you manage your business. And so setting up a store policy asserts the guidelines by which you will accept or work with returns or exchanges or, you know, whatever condition you want to put in there, okay? So that's very, very important, okay? So you need to be aware of what can and can't be returned. Don't just look here, you know, go out, you know, do your own research. You have to be, because this is a business, you have to understand how your business can operate. Okay. Now this is where we get into returns and who pays for returns. Today, as of today, in Amazon, you can require that the customer will pay for return shipping on a product that they want to return for whatever reason. Okay. You can also, you know, pay for return shipping. Okay. Whatever you want to do. However, on November 1st, Amazon is establishing a new policy where they will automatically accept returns from a customer for whatever reason. And as a result, because of that, as part of that policy, the Amazon will essentially grant the return and provide the customer with a free prepaid return shipping label. So what that means is that, guess what? Amazon will take the cost of that return shipping label and take it from your product cost. Okay, so if you sold the item for $100 and return shipping is $10 or $6, Amazon will take $6 after you refund that customer their product. Once you give that customer a refund. Okay, so they're charging you for return shipping. So as a result, you need to, of course, you don't want to lose money, but you want to charge an appropriate restocking fee to cover those costs. Okay, I have a suspicion that a 15% restocking fee isn't going to cover all instances. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and what I've already done, is I increased my return stocking fee to be at about 25%. That's kind of risky, but returns are less than 3% of my total sales volume. So for those 3% of my customers that will return the product, I don't want to lose money on those returns. So as a result, I need to increase my return stocking fee to cover those costs, because those are real costs. So keep that in mind, that, you know, when you sell a product, you're going to pay for shipping to the customer. Okay, so that's a lost cost right there. That's a sunk cost in your business. When the product comes back, you're going to pay for shipping on the way back. Okay, so that's twice you're paying for shipping when that product's returned. So real quickly, you can lose a lot of money. All right, so you need to understand that and understand why you need to protect your costs. Okay, so as a result, you may want to increase your your restocking fee. Okay. Maybe 25% isn't enough for you. Maybe you need to increase it. Amazon allows you to have a 50%, up to a 50% restocking fee, okay? So you'll need to establish whatever restocking fee that you need in your store policies, but you need to do it soon, and you need to do it before November 1st. In addition, Amazon allows you to have exceptions to your return policies. Okay, and that might be, you know, items that you're shipping freight. Okay, so there are some items in there that, you know, may be large that you're going to ship via freight, and you know, you want to make sure that your costs are covered there, so you can establish that specific listing, the ASIN number, as an exception to the policy. But you have to list every single one of those. So please keep that in mind. You will need to, I would recommend that you further investigate that so that you understand how that goes. Because again, you don't want to lose money. This business is not about losing money for the customer's sake. If the customer changes their mind, sorry, but we incur costs. And you should always make sure that you at least tell your customers to at least review your return policies before they make a purchase, because we don't want to have angry customers. And believe me, what's going to happen is some customers are going to push back, and you can negotiate that return stocking fee if you like when they do push back, because you don't want to have angry customers. A lot of customers understand business, and they'll accept your return stocking fee. Other customers will not understand under any circumstances, no matter how well or eloquently you explain to him how the return process goes and where you're incurring costs. They won't care. So you're not going to always make everybody happy, but you at least need to make sure you establish what your policies are so that everybody understands and has good expectations about how they go into this transaction. How's that so far, Troy? Are we doing good there? Does that explain a lot?
Brother, that is fabulous.
All right. I love it. Cool. All right. So I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep, but that was an important aspect, and some folks asked some questions about that, and I just wanted to make sure that I got to that real quick, because the return policies are changing on Amazon right now, and if you haven't established good store policies, it's a critical thing to do, especially coming into this holiday season. One thing everybody needs to understand is that when we get into the holidays, returns will increase, okay? That's just the way it is. People buy stuff as a gift for somebody, and that somebody wants to return the item, and they want to get either money for it or something, okay? So, that's just the way it goes, okay? So you have to have your return policy set up, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Okay, let's see if we can go to the next batch of questions. So we got some questions.
Well, and on that note, really quick, Brian, with that return policy like you're talking about, those are some of the specific things that you actually streamlined, fine-tuned, and really dialed in that made your business grow so quickly, right? Where a lot of people are just, they throw up their hands, they get frustrated, they're not accustomed to it. Well, it's just business.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. So when we talk about understanding your business, you have to understand that customers are going to return stuff, okay? And that's so important, because people get frustrated with returns. And if you don't have good expectations about how your customers are going to behave, and that you are going to have to deal with returns from time to time, and sometimes there'll be a lot of returns, you're going to get frustrated as a business owner. So you have to train your people to understand how to process returns well. You have to understand how to process returns well as well. And so, if you go in there understanding that, you're going to have to manage returns, you're okay. But if you get frustrated with that, you need to change your expectations, okay? That's the mind game with anything. If you don't understand how your business works, and you go in here thinking that you're never going to have to deal with a return or deal with an angry customer, then you got to change your mindset a little bit, because you're going to have angry customers. That's just the way the business works. And the way I look at it is, if you don't have problems to solve, you don't have a business, because no business is going to be perfect. And if you're going to be in business, you're going to have to solve problems. And sometimes customers are the problems that you have to solve every day. So you have to just get used to that. And sometimes, I'm just going to add this to it, is that sometimes customers will resort to doing an A to Z claim to do a return, okay? That's their first go-to, and there's a lot of customers that will do that from time to time. I oftentimes have 5, 6, 7 A to Z claims a month, because we're selling a lot of product, a lot of units every month, and not every customer understands how to do a return on Amazon. So what do? They see that A to Z claim guarantee, and they go, okay, I'll just go file an A to Z claim, and I'll get my return done. Well, okay. And so a lot of sellers will get frustrated with that, and they'll get stressed out because they'll have to deal with an A to Z claim. And they're no big deal. you just got to just understand that, you know, an A to Z claim is just another route to do a return. And you're going to get them. And as you establish your business, you're going to get more of them. And, you know, it's just one thing. You can have your staff trained on how to do an A to Z claim very well, or you can do them yourself. You know, and, you know, it's just the way it is. It's just another type of return. You have to respond within 7 days. But, you know, that just means you just got to be on top of your business. And if you're not comfortable with being on top of your business, you got to find a way to do that, because that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do, is that, you know, maybe they're disorganized. And being organized with your business is key. And one thing I'll add to that is just when you're dealing with returns, communicate every day. Communicate with your customers every single day, whether you have status or not. Because if you do that, you prove to Amazon that you're managing your business well. Okay. And when those A to Z claims come, you can show Amazon that you're communicating every day with your customer, keeping on top of it, and working in good faith. And if you do that, you'll always win every A to Z claim. Okay. And just follow your return process when you get an A to Z claim. Get that product returned as soon as you can. Provide the customer with their refund, less the restocking fee if that's appropriate, and move on. You know, close that A to Z claim out. But don't let it lapse. Don't forget about the A to Z claim, because that's a quick way to lose the product and your money. Okay, you lose twice when you forget about your A to Z claim. So you have to be very, very organized. Okay, that's key to any business. So keep that in mind. Make sure your staff members are very organized and that they follow a proper organizational process. If you don't do that, I do that with OneNote. OneNote helps me be very, very organized. So follow your organizational process. Make sure your team follows it, so that you know what to expect, so everybody knows what to expect when you manage your business. Okay, so let's talk about suppliers. Is that okay, Troy? Can we move on to suppliers?
You betcha, brother.
All right, buddy. Okay, so suppliers. Now, I don't want to get into really how to choose your suppliers. We've talked about that in previous videos. What I would recommend is, if that's your question right now, I would recommend going to that video on working with suppliers and just looking at what I was telling you there, because I got into a lot of business. But let's just talk about this. If you're a new supplier, if you're a new drop shipper, I would recommend working with the big suppliers, your Walmarts, your Bed Bath & Beyond, your Home Depots. Stay with those guys if you're new, okay? Get to understand them, learn about them, work with them. Don't hide the fact that you're a drop shipper. They don't care for the most part, okay? They really don't care. Home Depot for sure doesn't care, okay? Bed Bath & Beyond for sure doesn't care. And Walmart for sure doesn't care, okay? Maybe their inexperienced customer service representatives care, but it's because they're inexperienced. I've worked with Walmart for now over a year, and they don't care that I'm a drop shipper. They like the business that I give them. They want to work with me to make sure that I keep doing business with them, okay? So everyone, please understand, this is not a secret when you're doing business with your suppliers. Don't be afraid to talk about your customers, because they don't care that you're a drop shipper, okay? So all they want is the business, and they want the business transactions to move smoothly, okay? So their expectation is that you're doing your job and they will do their job. Sometimes somebody's going to fail. Mistakes happen. Everybody understands that. And it's how you deal with mistakes that's going to make you look good with those suppliers, okay? So if you're new, go with the big ones. If you're established and you're looking for new suppliers, you know what I would recommend doing is look at who your service providers are, and look at who they work with best, you know, and then start to vet those guys, because what you want to look for are suppliers with lower price points, okay? Because lower price points mean that you're going to compete better against your competition, and then you'll earn more profit, okay? So you know, but that means you're going to take a little bit more risk, because you'll be vetting new suppliers. But I would work with whoever your service providers are, and look at who they work well with, and start to vet some of those. But the idea is, when you get more established, you want to find suppliers that you can really establish a relationship with, maybe smaller companies, establish a relationship with them, come clean with them. Hey, look, I'm a drop shipper. This is what I'm doing. This is how much volume I do every year. I'd really like to work with you guys. Are you open to working with me? Sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll say, heck yeah, because they want to earn money too. And they want to work with drop shippers. There's a lot of folks out there that want to do that. Okay. Takes time though to find those other drop shipping sources. I'm not going to tell you who they are because again, we're all in competition with each other, but I will encourage you to go out and seek other suppliers. But if you're new, as a new drop shipper, I'd say with less than a year experience or less than 9 months, and maybe less other, business experience, stick with the big ones. It's very important that, you stay with a big company that can be very, very predictable. When you're ready to start moving into other suppliers, do that, but do it a step at a time. Don't try to do everything at once, okay? So the next question is how many suppliers should I have? See, that's a personal question because it essentially is a question of how comfortable are you with working with your current suppliers. If you're good with 1 or 2 suppliers, work with 1 or 2 suppliers to make your business predictable, okay? Because that's important. So you need to, first of all, before you even start thinking about multiple suppliers, you want to make sure you understand the suppliers that you have, okay? If you're working with 1 or 2, get to understand their return policies, get to understand how their customer service team works, what their policies are. Learn how you can get additional credits whenever you have a problem with your orders. Can I get a 10% discount whenever they screw up? Learn about that. Get really good at understanding how they work. Make sure if you have staff, make sure your staff understands that, okay? And maybe set your own guidelines on how to work with each type of supplier, okay, so that your staff can understand how to do that, okay? So how many you should have depends on how comfortable you are in managing your business, organizing your business, working with your staff, and then also taking on risk, because as you have more and more suppliers, you take on more risk in that you're not going to be able to manage the number of suppliers that you have, okay? So that's very important. Also, the suppliers you have, you want to make sure you understand their return policies because they're all going to have different return policies. Some of them, do this, some of them do that. So you want to make sure that you understand and have a good understanding of how your suppliers work. So it's a personal answer. I can't tell you how many suppliers you should have, but I should tell you that you should be comfortable with the number that you have today and methodically add additional suppliers as you see fit, as your business is ready, as your business grows, okay, as your team is more comfortable, okay? So this is a good question that I got was, how long should my fulfillment latency be? Okay, because this is the amount of time, the number of days you have from the time that the order was received by the customer to the time you have to get it fulfilled and shipped, okay? Right now with your big suppliers, 3 to 5 days during the off season, and gradually as you move into the holiday season, they're going to be under stress and fulfilling more orders themselves from all different kinds of suppliers, not just you. And so I would gradually increase your fulfillment latency. What does that mean? Well, could be 5 days latency, could be 6, could be 7. It just depends on how your supplier behaves. If they start shipping orders more slowly, if you start seeing them, run out of stock after, you've purchased the item, you should increase your fulfillment latency. I think Amazon's longest fulfillment latency, I think, is 10 days. So I think that's the max. Consult your back office to confirm that. So you want to make sure that you increase your fulfillment latency to support your supplier's time to ship, okay? So that's important, but you have to observe what they're doing, and then you have to increase as you go on. Keep in mind that in the beginning of the holiday season, it's going to be really busy real fast for a short period of time, and then it'll probably slow down a little bit, but it'll be consistent. You'll want to look at your supplier's behavior and just look at how long it takes them to fulfill those orders. And then you'll want to increase that based on what you observe, okay? And the reason why I can't give you an exact number is because you want to adjust it based on, maybe the number of competition you have. Maybe you want to decrease your fulfillment latency to ensure that you have the buy box. Maybe you want to increase it to increase the safety that you have, the window that you have to fulfill that order. Because latency is a tool that you can also use to protect your metrics, and I'll get into that in a few more minutes. But you have to establish what your own fulfillment latency is based on how your business is operating, how your suppliers are behaving. Okay, so let me move on to the next question. I hope that kind of helps you out a little bit. How do I price during the holidays? Okay, with your suppliers, you're going to notice that prices will fluctuate a lot. Okay, it's a supply and demand business out there. Okay, your suppliers are using dynamic pricing strategies, so they're going to increase and decrease their price based on demand. Okay, you need to have a good in-stock, out-of-stock tool to manage your suppliers' price changes and in-stock patterns, in-stock and out-of-stock patterns. So whether it's e-com, whether it's SKU Grid, whether it's the Dropshipper's Toolbox, you want to make sure that you use one of those tools, because the more listings you have, the more difficult it is to manage. Okay. In addition, you want to adjust your pricing based on competitors' pricing strategies. So you will need to have a tool like AppEagle or any of the other competitors out there for price changing. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys understand that your in-stock and out-of-stock tools, those tools will track how the product comes in stock and out of stock with the supplier. Okay, and they'll update Amazon to make sure that that item gets taken out of stock quickly enough or placed back in stock if it comes back in stock to sell. Okay, it'll also update the pricing. Okay, so it sets the cost in, say, AppEagle. Okay, so that you can you'll set your margin in AppEagle and you'll adjust price based on competition there. So your in-stock and out-of-stock tool is for managing in-stock and managing cost. Okay, so keep that in mind, because it's not changing your prices kind of like the way AppEagle does. AppEagle takes whatever cost you give it and it adjusts price or down based on your competition. You can further adjust your pricing manually in AppEagle, okay, depending on whenever you want to adjust pricing. But keep in mind that those two tools do two different types of jobs, and you have to understand that. You have to understand how your services are operating so that you understand your business better, okay? So that's how you price, okay? So keep that in mind. You need to watch your pricing. If you only have a few listings, you don't need those tools. But it requires that you manage your listings, okay, yourself manually. That means increased time, okay? The services I was talking about, managing your in-stock and out-of-stock and managing your pricing, those are services that save you time, okay? You still have to use them. You still have to update them whenever you get new listings, but they save you a lot of time as you increase the number of listings you have in your business. And, that's one of the things you want to do is you want to have a number of listings, hundreds, thousands of them, because that increases the chances of you making a sale, okay? I use this type of an example. If you fish with one fishing pole and one hook, you'll catch one fish at a time. That's a linear approach, okay? Mathematics, all right? I like math. But if you fish with a net or a lot of fishing poles, you'll catch many fish at a time. Not one at a time, many fish at a time. That's a geometric approach, okay? So I recommend that you fish or sell product at a geometric level, meaning with thousands of products, because you have thousands of different offerings. You can sell thousands of different products, okay? You can make hundreds of sales a month, thousands of sales a month versus maybe one sale a day, 30 times a month. Does that make sense? I hope that does. It's kind of a mathematical example, but really this business is about mathematics, okay? We'll get into more about that later. How we doing, Troy? Does that look good so far?
I love it, man. No, I think that's the way you covered that, and not to be intimidated by mathematics, because us artist folk get a little freaked out about that. It's not what people think. Everything's there for you, to break this down. So all the formulas are there and the spreadsheets and all that good stuff. Okay. So yeah, that's brilliant.
So let me just give another idea. When it comes to pricing, see, when you set your margin for your pricing, and this is a question that wasn't asked before, but this is just a piece of insight in your business, okay, in the way your business works. When you establish a price, you essentially establish a sales velocity, okay, in relation to your competition for that one listing, okay? If you price high, you may make a sale, at a slower rate. If you reduce your price, you will be more competitive against the other competitors, and you'll make a sale more often. The difference is that your margin, if you set a higher price, will be larger. So that margin means that you'll earn more money. A larger margin means you'll earn more money. A smaller margin means you earn less money per sale. However, that higher margin means that you will make fewer sales, and so therefore you'll earn money less often. But when you have a lower margin and you're more competitive against the other sellers out there who may have a lower price as well, you will make sales more often. And so maybe you'll earn less profit, but you'll earn that less profit more often. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because that's kind of the trick to selling product, right? You could sell a slow quarter, or you could sell a fast nickel, okay? Now, if you sell that nickel many more times than you'll sell that quarter, well, you'll be ahead of the game, you see? So maybe I'll make 30 sales in a day versus 1 sale in a day, okay? So that's the difference, and that's the pricing strategy. So as a seller, you have to figure out what your pricing strategy is. I can't tell you what your pricing strategy is, because a lot of it depends on how you want to run your business. Do you want to sell often? Do you want to sell less often? Do you want to be busy, or do you want to be less busy? A lot of those things are different levels that you have to approach your business with, and that determines how well you're going to do, okay? I know a lot of people think that you want to go into this business and you want to make $1 million real fast, and some people do, but some people just want to have a side income, okay? And they don't want to work real hard. They just want to let the thing run by itself, and occasionally they want to, process and order. So, or maybe that's how they want to learn the business, and so they just do that for a little while, and then they grow later on when they're ready. It just depends on how you want to operate your business. You can be working in this business full-time all day, and then you could just go like gangbusters and make $100,000 your first month, okay? It depends on how much effort you want to do, okay? Effort equals, sales. Sales equal profitability. Profitability is often, it just keeps going from there, okay? You use one to feed the other. Okay, so let's move on. Here we go, Troy. We're going to talk about managing your team. I know folks have asked questions. Okay.
This is a big one.
What's that?
This is a big one. I truly believe, just from what we've experienced, that this is the make or break. This is what makes it a joy, or something that is frustrating and makes you want to pull out whatever hair you have left off your head. So
absolutely, because
let's go.
Yeah, well, when you run a team, you're running a business, okay? So this is kind of what separates the men from the boys. I'll use that old-fashioned term. But the thing is when you run a business versus have a job, this is where you separate here, because you can only do so much as an individual, okay? When you start to duplicate yourself, you are developing a business. And often people come in here and they start a business and they get some employees, and then the employees don't do what they want them to do. And they get frustrated and they get flustered, and they don't know what to do. So part of running a business is learning how to be a good manager and taking responsibility for your business and how your team is trained. Okay, so first things first, and they're not in here. When you start a business, you really need to learn how that business is supposed to run. Okay, that's so important. If you don't understand how your business is supposed to run, then how are you going to teach somebody else to run your business? Okay, or do a specific job in your business. So you have to understand that. You have to understand it at a high level. Okay, you have to understand and have the expectation that you are responsible for how well your business performs, as well as how well your people perform. Because if they don't perform well, guess what? It's because you didn't teach them well. It's because you're not managing them well. It means that you're not setting their expectations in terms of how you want to run your business well. Okay, so when you run your own business, you need to get out there and learn how to be a good business owner. It's not just here. You know, the ideas that we come into, these are very high-level ideas that we're trying to feed you guys. But as business owners, you need to find external knowledge to help you learn to be a good manager. Often people are micromanagers. They don't understand how to let go, okay? And as a result, your team's not going to perform well, because what happens when you have a micromanager as your boss? A lot of people know this. What happens, Troy, when you have a micromanager?
Oh, you just want to run away. You want to punch them in the snoot.
Yeah, absolutely. You're stressed out as an employee because that micromanager boss tells you that you can't do it right, or that they're on you for every little mistake that you make. They're on you dictating exactly how you will perform that job. And as a result, you can never do that job right because you're under stress. You're freaked out. You got somebody over your head looking over your shoulder telling you how to do your job. Okay, so you have to understand that people all have different motivations on why they come to work. They all have different learning styles, okay? They all have different job execution styles, the way they approach a job, okay? They may be very detail-oriented, or they may be less detail-oriented. They may be very, very high-level thinkers, okay? They just get the gist of it, and they kind of do it their way, but they get there, okay? You have to understand the kind of people that you hire, okay? So when you hire your staff, you have to set some basic qualifications, okay? And I can give you qualifications, but really, this is something that is on the business owner to understand how to find and hire the kind of people that will work well with them. Not just good people, but the people that will work well with you as a manager. Because if you don't understand what kind of people you work well with, you're going to hire the wrong people every time, and they're never going to be good employees because, you know, they got to deal with you. So first things first, set good qualifications, but that's just the starting point. You know, I like to make sure I get college-educated individuals. I like science and mathematics degrees because it's an established methodology in order to do that type of work. But that's what I like, okay? I like people that speak fluent English, okay? I like people that write in fluent English. I like people that, and this is not a specific qualification, but I like them that they think fast, okay, that they can think on their feet. You know, of course, your staff needs to have good computers. Oftentimes we hire people from the Philippines. They won't necessarily have i5 computers, i7 computers with, you know, 300 megabit internet connections. You won't see that out there. But they'll have i3s, you know, with low resolution monitors, and that's enough. But they got to have a good internet connection, so that's very important. You know, I'd say at least a 3 megabit internet connection, and maybe even a VPN service of their own, okay, or you're going to have to get one for them. But that's the start. The rest of it is about you being a good manager and finding people that you can work with. Like I said, I like to look for people that think very quickly on their feet, that are good communicators. I like good communicators because I like to talk to my staff, and I need them to be able to talk to my customers, okay? If they are not good outward-facing people, then guess what? I'm not going to hire them. And it's important to me because I don't want to have to call my customers. I want them to do it, okay? I want them to be able to write to Walmart or to Home Depot. I want them to be able to get on a chat and communicate effectively. I want them to actually be able to call the customer once in a while and ask some questions about the order or deliver bad news. I need them to be assertive and good communicators with me. If they fail, I want them to be able to tell me that they made a mistake and get my help to solve the problem, or better yet, solve the problem on their own, okay? The less I have to work with my team to do their job for them, the better off that employee is, the better off I am. I find people that can do that, okay? Because I set expectations with my team to be able to do that. So when you hire people, I would recommend that you look for people like that. If you hire people that need to have their hand held all the time, well, guess what? You're going to be really frustrated because guess what? That's the type of person you hired. Okay. Try to hire people that are self-motivated, that have a reason for working. That's an important aspect of it. I like to hire moms because moms are working for their family. Dads are working for their family. Okay. They have someone that is depending on them. And so it's in their best interest to come to work and do a good job. Okay. And then what I do when I hire them is I work with them closely myself. I work with them closely for a week. And I spend a lot of time with them teaching them how to do the job. I teach them about my business, who I am, and what I expect from them. Okay? And I do this a lot during the interview process because I want them to understand that I don't want to hire a doormat. I don't hire doormats. Maybe that's another thing you should know, is I don't hire doormats because doormats don't do good work. They're afraid of their employer, and I don't want anybody to be afraid of me. Okay? Again, that's just me, but I think that's a good way to go with employees. If they're not afraid of you, and if they're motivated, self-motivated to do a good job, they will be the best employees. Okay? Now, that's how you establish your employees. And like I said, you have to get to know them, and I think that's really an important aspect of working with employees. Is you really need to understand who they are as people because they're people. And they have their own motivations, they have their own shortcomings, and they have their own strengths, okay? And you need to learn how to work with their strengths and also how to deal with their shortcomings and maybe work around them, okay? As a manager, you need to take responsibility for those aspects of your team because this is not a professional staff, okay? So they're not all, United States educated, staff members where, you may not have to hold their hand. You're the manager, or maybe you'll get a manager to teach them. But for most of you, you're going to be the manager of this staff. And then you need to establish a good working relationship with your staff. Maybe you'll hire a manager, but then you need to set expectations with that manager of what your expectations are for them, and give them enough autonomy to be able to do their job. Sometimes they're going to fail, sometimes they're not going to fail, and they'll be awesome. But you have to give them the permission to fail. Okay, I've always learned that if you give someone permission to fail, they'll fail less often than they will have you essentially explicitly forbid them to fail. Okay, so you can't learn if you never fail. You can't learn if you're afraid to fail. Okay, so that means you're allowing your team members to take risks, to make adjustments to your methodology to suit the specific situation. If you give your team power to do their job the way that the situation dictates, you're going to have a better staff member than you will if you don't. If you just micromanage everything, guess what? They're going to fail because they're going to try to conform to your processes, but they're going to run into situations where it requires an exception. And as a result, they're going to be stressed out trying to meet your process, your rigid process, given that they've got an exception. And so conflict arises, stress arises, and guess what? They probably won't come to work the next day.
Brian,
yeah.
On that note, can I interject here?
Sure.
One of the things that on that very topic, growing up, I come from a very generational big construction company family.
Yep.
And my father is one of the hardest working men I've ever met in my life. Get up, the first one up, the last one to leave. And he had one of the largest concrete and masonry companies in Alaska in the 90s.
Sure.
Now this is a guy I'd go up and I'd work with him, and he'd win all the prizes from the different masonry supply companies. He'd win tickets to Hawaii. He'd win these different trips around the planet, and we're all excited about it. And my father would give them away. He'd hand them off to other people because his idea of working was you just didn't do that. It was always work. And he loves what he does, by the way. Loves that kind of stuff. I didn't. And so in that process, I constantly, thank God he did that for me. was looking for other ways to earn a living, or to enjoy myself, because it was such a drudgery to constantly, day in and day out, go into that environment, put on my work boots, carry heavy stuff around people who were screaming, and oh my God. So that was how I was blessed to finally segue into something new. But it's just like his model of what that industry is about in my world was just, there was zero pleasure. It was constant and nonstop, and I didn't enjoy it enough for it to even remotely make sense for me to do that as a living. And so therefore I moved on. And I, like yourself, I know that Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week, hey, it might not be a 4-hour work week, but I tell you what, a 4-hour work day focused with everything outlined is doable. And then you can have a life. And if you enjoy what you do, which this is an enjoyable way to earn a living, then life is pretty doggone good once you've gone through that learning curve. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
Awesome. Okay, so I think I've answered a lot of the questions that we received on that. So let me go ahead and move on a little bit, because I know we're running out of time, and I don't want us to miss out on some stuff here. So here we go. All right. So another thing that folks have been asking is, how do I manage my metrics? Okay. And this is a snapshot of my metrics as they are today. And I want to make sure that folks understand that there are actually two things that you have to manage: your metrics and your feedback. Okay. So when we're talking about metrics, which metrics should I pay attention to? These are the three main metrics that you need to pay attention to. And they have components within themselves. Okay. But this is where you want to just manage your business right here. Okay. Your order defect rate, your cancellation rate, and your late shipment rate. Okay. Because these are the items that are going to get you in trouble if they're low. Okay. And if they're consistently low. Okay. So the best way to do that is to have a good store policy. Okay. To have a fair, what is it called? I'm blanking on it. A fair return policy. You need to have a fair return policy for your customers. You need to make sure that you provide excellent customer service. Okay. Excellent customer service means communicating with your customers every single day. And we just mentioned that earlier. Okay. You need to price appropriately and sell product that is actually in stock. Okay, that's the cancellation rate. Okay, because if you have to cancel orders, then this number is going to increase. Okay, and you don't want to cancel too many orders if you don't need to, because Amazon doesn't like it when you do that, because that means you're providing less than excellent customer service. And then here's the late shipping rate. Okay. Notice that mine's at 3.39% right now. My target is less than 4%. It's in the green zone, so I'm not worried about it. But the thing is that you want to make sure that you have an appropriate fulfillment latency to make sure that all of your items ship on time. Okay, and if your fulfillment latency is too short, well, guess what? You're going to ship late all the time. So if you find that your items are shipping late, increase your fulfillment latency, because that's the one lever you have to adjust that. There's a lesser tracking, or a lesser value right here, valid tracking rate. I know a lot of people have asked that question. I don't stress about the valid tracking rate, okay, because these guys are green, all right? And this is just one component of the late shipping rate, okay? I established a process for my customers, my staff, to update the tracking numbers in the system. Okay, they follow it. They back it up by putting the tracking number into the seller's notes. Okay, sometimes they're going to make mistakes. They might add a space in the tracking number, and then you just got to correct it. But that shouldn't happen that often. Again, you're sending valid tracking numbers every single day. If this number starts to get out of whack, it's because something's happening in the process. Amazon is not out to get you in terms of valid tracking numbers. They're not out to get you with that one metrics. There's no motivation on their side to just ding you every time you fulfill your tracking number. So a lot of people are stressed out about it. As long as this number is good, don't stress out about it, okay? If you keep getting a lot of invalid tracking numbers and this starts to turn red, then you need to make sure you take a good look at how your staff is entering in those numbers. Maybe they're not putting in the correct date, the shipping date. Maybe they're adding extra spaces. Maybe they're putting them in there for the wrong shipper. Maybe they're putting a UPS tracking number into FedEx or a FedEx tracking number into USPS. That can happen. Maybe they're adding an extra space character. Maybe they're putting in a colon in there, something. But you just need to take a look at that and see what they're doing wrong and just do the diagnosis. So that's what I have to say on that. Again, cancellation rates, that's a function of having a good in-stock, out-of-stock tool to make sure that they bring your product in stock and out stock on time. Sometimes they'll screw up. Apparently Ecom does it a lot more often than SKU Grid does. So you have to protect yourself in those tools. So you have to understand how those tools operate well to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Maybe there's certain product, or maybe there's certain retailers that they're not doing a good job with in tracking. Well, that means that you need to take the time to manually ensure that your prices are accurate, or you list fewer from that specific retailer because that service is not doing a good job managing it on your behalf. You can't keep banging yourself in the wall, your head in the wall, because your services aren't doing a good job. You have to ultimately take responsibility for your metrics and the reasons for the metrics going out of whack. You have to understand that if you take the view that it's always someone else's fault, it's some other tool's fault, that your numbers are going awry, if you take that view, you're going to fail, guaranteed, because that's a failure attitude. You need to have the attitude that I own the result of these metrics here, and I'm pretty proud of them. You have to own these metrics. You have to own the result of these metrics. And so as a result, you need to take measures to make sure that they're good, always, regardless of how well your services are performing. You, the seller, you, the store owner, you, the business owner, are responsible for these metrics. So you have to take responsibility and take measures to protect them. Okay, so that's important, especially in the holiday season. If you need to increase your fulfillment latency, do that. If you need to stop listing from certain sellers, do that. If you need to reduce the number of offerings, do that. If you need to increase your price, do that. Okay, but your metrics are your responsibility. You need to take measures to protect them, because Amazon's not going to accept an excuse that Ecom went out of stock on 30% of my items last month and they were incorrect. They're not going to take that as an excuse for you mismanaging your business. They're going to put you on review and have you take the time to figure out how to make your business operate better. It's not Amazon's responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility but your own. So you have to have the attitude that you own everything. Okay, so keep that in mind. So these guys right here, these betas, I don't pay attention to them. Okay, I do not pay attention to this because they're beta. Beta means that they're testing them, trying to figure them out. And if my numbers go bad here, I don't care, because they're beta. They're not really these numbers right here. I care about these guys. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that we manage these numbers here, not anything down here as much. Okay, so that's the first thing my recommendation is. Okay, so seller reviews. Seller reviews are key. You want to make sure that your seller reviews are as good as they can be. Okay, sometimes you have to understand that you're going to have customers that are going to give you terrible reviews. Maybe you had it out of stock and they're mad about it. Well, they're going to apply that review. The seller reviews are a point in time. They will not affect your business as a whole over the long period. I manage my business from a long view versus a very short view of time. Okay, and I think you should too, because when you look at reviews, it's how your reviews look over a long period of time, over a year, versus one particular couple of week period or a month period, because that doesn't define your business. Your entire longevity of a business defines your business. And so don't stress out about short-term bad reviews. focus on getting more long-term good reviews over the long term, okay? So if you don't use a tool like Kibly to get, to get the customers to provide you positive reviews, I recommend getting one. Otherwise, send your own emails to your own customers and gently encourage them to provide you a good review within Amazon's store policies. Keep in mind that some of those things, the way you word things, are inappropriate per Amazon's return policies or seller policies. So just be careful. But I recommend going with Kibly or some other tool like that. They work really well. We're pretty happy about that on our side. So tips for keeping your metrics up. I mentioned earlier, increasing your fulfillment latency. You can raise your prices to maybe get fewer sales, but you're going to get sales if you price within the target distance from a good seller price. People go in stock and out of stock all the time. So if you're selling an item that sells really well or is in very high demand and everybody else goes out of stock, but you have some in reserve somewhere, or you found a secret supplier somewhere to help you get that product in, maybe at a higher price, and you can charge a premium for that item if customers will buy it. And so you just want to play with your prices enough to establish a good sales volume for yourself, whatever you want to get. Or you can go as hard as heavy as you want, but you want to make sure that you manage your your in stock, out of stock. You want to make sure you manage your customer service to the highest level you can, and you want to make sure that you don't cancel orders that often. So increase your fulfillment rate, and you want to make sure that you're updating tracking numbers accurately. You want to make sure that you're doing it on time. And if you do that, your numbers are going to remain green. But keep in mind, oh my God, keep in mind, your numbers will take a hit during the holiday season unless you're perfect, okay? So you need to have the expectation that it's a good possibility that your metrics will take a bit of a hit during the holiday period due to the sales volume, okay? Believe me, Walmart's going to make mistakes. Home Depot's going to make mistakes. All these guys are going to make mistakes. It's going to affect your business as a result. So if you go in with the mindset that, problems are going to happen, mistakes are going to be made, my metrics will take a hit during the holiday season, but they will recover, in the winter, January, February, March, they will recover and your business will still keep going, okay? What you want to do is you want to manage your sales volume, okay? Because sometimes what will happen is, especially if you're new, Amazon will put you on review and they'll want to understand your business a little bit. Being on a review isn't the end of the world, but you need to make sure that you know what to do when you have a review. And that really all it is answering their questions as soon as you can and asking for them to take you off review. It's not the end of the world if you get on review. If you ever get on review, just ask the questions on our Inner Circle page. We'll help you out with some ideas on what to do. So those are your tips for keeping your metrics up. Again, have the mindset that you're going to have a metrics hit. It's just the way it is. Expect that. Don't go in red. I don't expect you to go in red, but you will go in red. You'll go in yellow on one of these items. Maybe the cancellation will go up. Maybe the late shipment rate will go up. Something will go up. But if you protect yourself with a fair price and a decent fulfillment latency, you'll likely have less of an impact. Okay, so that's how you protect your metrics as well. Okay, and again, store policies protect you as well, because when your customers want to do a return 60 days after they purchase something, your store policies establish that you won't do it after 30. Okay, so keep that in mind. How's that, Troy?
I couldn't find my unmute button. I love it. I love setting expectations of the process so that when people reach these places that may be unfamiliar or the familiarity isn't there, that they don't believe it's the end of the world. It's just part of the process, and that will cycle back around and the business will go on. Once they've had a year in the business, they will realize that now what each part of each season will bring, and they can adjust and build their business accordingly. So I think it's brilliant, brother.
So keep in mind, everybody, that your metrics will likely turn yellow here and there. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Believe me, it's happening to everybody. The less experienced folks will have it happen to them more so. But if you take the advice that I give you here and protect your metrics, they'll become less yellow for a short period of time, okay? Keep in mind, they can fluctuate between yellow and green as time marches on because these are 30-day counts in some cases. And so, they'll fluctuate, and so expect that, okay? But another thing, though, is if your staff members are missing something resulting in these numbers taking a hit, you need to quickly take care of that, okay? That's important because you want to make sure your staff is doing what they got to do. If it's you, the business owner, making those mistakes, well, then you really need to take a good look at what you're doing and fix it so that you can get good metrics again. All right, I'm going to move on here. I don't want to take too much time. We've got 2 more slides to get through. Tools, okay, and I don't want to get into specifically which tools, but I want to get into the basic types of tools. I want to talk about managing your team's performance. Actually, we already talked about that, so I don't know why I put that there. Whoa, no, I made a mistake. See, we're having technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try it again. Reading mode. Yay, okay. Oh, actually, I don't know why I put these here, but okay, that actually, so let me talk about tools in a minute. I want to just close with managing your team's performance and when you got to make changes. So my apologies that I included this in the wrong part of town, but anyway, basic tools. So let's make sure that everybody understands that when you're establishing a business, you have to understand that you're going to have a need to have tools to essentially duplicate your efforts. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, you need to have an in-stock, out-of-stock tool. Okay, like Ecom, like the Seller's Toolbox, like SKU-Grid. I use SKU-Grid myself. I found that it's a little bit more accurate than anybody else at this point, but it's not perfect. But you need to have a good in-stock, out-of-stock tool, and you need to manage it as such. Keeping one eye on it, making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And if it doesn't, you need to make and take measures to protect your business. And we talked about what that should be earlier. You need to have a pricing tool to manage your pricing against your competition, like AppEagle. I use AppEagle; it works great, and I use it to also manage my own pricing strategy, which means I change my prices, my margins throughout the day to stimulate sales. And I do that because Walmart's changing their prices all day. Amazon changes their price all day. Why shouldn't I? So I do that. And so, think about it, experiment with it, see if that will work for you. But it seems to work. And so you need to have at least those basic tools. You need to have a tool, and I use OneNote to manage my business from an organizational perspective. And I know some people are using other tools, and that's good too. But I'm going to bring it up real quick. But I use that tool as my primary tool to manage organization in terms of, when products are getting sold and shipped versus returned. I use this tool religiously. My team does religiously. We manage customer service issues, shipped orders, and then we put some listing tools in here for them when they're doing their listing. But we use this tool to organize activity. We know what's going on. When we sold it, when we bought it, how much we paid for it. When we have to go into questions about the customer asks, we have all that information here. You see, and so this is it's free essentially. You can get it by just having a OneDrive account. You can get it for free, and I use that for the majority of my work. And that's really the majority of all the tools that we use. Like I said, we use a feedback tool like Kibly. There's other ones out there. I recommend you get one because it increases your feedback score. You want to have good feedback scores. I didn't mention that a minute ago, but feedback helps drive trust in your business, especially with new customers. So you want to make sure that you can take advantage of that, because the more feedback you have that's positive, the better, because that establishes your business to the customer as more trustworthy than other businesses that have fewer feedbacks. So keep that in mind. It's a worthwhile investment, and I definitely recommend it. And for the most part, those are the major tools. I use tools for listing, like OA X-Ray and ASIN Inspector. There's other tools out there like Jungle Scout. You can get other tools to help you do that. But for the most part, I want to make it clear that I don't have more than that, okay? And the reason why I don't is because I want to keep my costs down. A lot of people that go into this business and they go and they hire tons of people, they buy lots of tools, and they spend a lot of money every month maintaining these things, maintaining staff, maintaining their tools. And that costs a lot of money, and guess what? That takes away from your profit. As a result, you don't earn as much money, okay? What I like to do is run a lean and mean business. So not spending a lot of money on tools, doing a lot with the few tools that I have, I get more bang for my buck. If I were to have other tools, the benefit would be slightly incremental, meaning that it would diminish. The benefit would diminish more and more as I get more tools. So I go with a very core set of tools. I leverage them as much as I can, and I don't spend much more money on that. And it's worked pretty well for me so far. I recommend it to you guys. I just don't see having a massive staff when you can do a lot with a small staff, okay? A very well-trained, effective, autonomous, self-motivated, and empowered staff, okay? Keep in mind, if you don't have that, you should find it, because I've done well for almost a year with this staff that I have, and like I said, I spend so little time on my business. I've done all this on a part-time basis. I still have a full-time job, which I enjoy very much. We run the Seekers Guild together, Troy and myself, and I have my drop shipping business, and I still coach people. And I do all that, effectively. And I know you guys can too, but you just have to have a plan. And so when I talk about tools, you have Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel, you have the OneDrive, you have Google Drive. That's all free for the most part. Take advantage of your free tools that are out there. The one thing I have that a lot of people don't have, and this is the last big tool that I have, is that I have a virtual server on Google, on the Google Cloud, that I use for my team to go into as a single place to conduct our day-to-day business. I'm a more technical individual. I've done a lot with technology, so it's really easy for me to build something like that and do it. But if you can do something like that, I would recommend doing it. It's great because I have Microsoft Office on there. I have to spend a lot of money on Microsoft Office. They have access to Google Drive, OneNote, OneDrive. All of our tools are on there, and they go to one place to do it. So they essentially have a workplace to work in. It's not super fast, but it does a great job. And it goes a long way for the cost to help us conduct our business. So those are my recommendations for tools, and I hope that makes sense. So let me talk more about managing your staff, because these are some of the last questions I saw. How do you manage performance? Okay, and then the second question is how do I know when it's time to fire a team member? So first things first, like I mentioned earlier, be a good manager, empower your team. If you can do that, then your team should perform pretty well. Train them well, empower them, great. But if they have performance issues, first of all, find out what the problem is, okay? Because that's your job as a manager. You need to understand your team's performance issues. If it's something that you can solve, by all means solve it. If it's a problem that you can't solve, or it's a chronic problem, maybe they're always late to work, maybe they're lying about the amount of time they're working, maybe you're watching them, you have a tool to watch their performance during the day, and you see that they're screwing around, I don't know, buying stuff for themselves. Maybe they're, doing other stuff. Maybe they're sharing listings with another competitor. Those kinds of things you can't solve. You need to get rid of that person, okay? And that may mean that you might have to work for a while until you get a new staff member. So when do you know it's time to fire someone? When you understand that you can't solve the particular performance issue that your staff member has, okay? But if you hire right, then hopefully you will have a long-term employee, because that's what you really want. You want good long-term employees. What I've learned in my experience is that good long-term employees that have a significant amount of experience will perform the best, okay, even with some minor hiccups in their performance, okay? So if you can keep your staff for a longer period of time, they will perform better over the long term versus having to reestablish new employees every couple of months, okay? So that's an important thing to understand, is that you want to hire for longevity. You don't want to hire for the next 3 months, okay, and then fire them all and then start with a new group. That's the road to failure, okay? That is a fast road to failure, so keep that in mind. So if you find out that you have a problem with an employee and it's a problem that you can't solve, it's a problem that they can't solve, then by all means, cut them loose. Be brave. Cut them loose immediately and get somebody else to fill their spot, okay? Maybe you have to leverage your team a little longer. Maybe you have to pay them a little more to keep them. But if you can't solve the problem, if the problem's not solvable, if you cannot communicate with that employee, cut them loose as early as you can, okay? And find someone that will work for the long haul, not for a short period of time, okay? Because that's the only way to establish a good team. Find people that you believe at some point in time could become a manager, okay? Because, you know, they got to start somewhere. But if you can develop their skills and their experience and make them even better employees, more reliable, trustworthy employees, because that's what you want to have for everybody's. You want everybody to be trustworthy. But, you know, hire them for the long term. Hire them to be awesome employees, but you got to train them. Okay, it's your responsibility to make sure that they know what to do. Develop videos to train your staff, okay, and refer them to those videos when they have questions, okay? Because you'll find that if you have a lot of training videos for your staff will do a lot better. They may have questions based on the videos, but, you know, use the videos, leverage those videos. I would establish a training program for your team, okay? Maybe you give them a good overview, spend some time, a day or two, you teach them aspects of Amazon, your business, you give them some basic written training. Like I said, people learn in different ways. Give them a PowerPoint slide, give them a video to learn stuff, and then just get them into the details of how to do their business, and then have them shadow one of your established employees, your good employees. And like I said, they all should be good. Shadow that employee for a day or two, and then have them start doing the job on their own with supervision from either yourself or an experienced employee, okay? And then ultimately get your experienced employees to start doing the training for you, okay? Get to a point where you can do that. But take responsibility for your employees' training overall and you know, and their method of execution. If you can do that, you're going to have a great team. But if you can't solve a problem with your teammates, then, you know, find somebody else. You know, if you have to, give them a week's severance pay if you like, or a couple of days, or put them on notice, you know, we're letting you go as soon as we hire somebody. Maybe that's not a good idea because they could make a lot of mistakes or wreak havoc on your business. So maybe the best recommendation is just cut them loose immediately. But then when you do that, if you have to fire an employee, make sure that you change all of your passwords to all of your services, your tools, your virtual server, whatever. Revoke sharing access to all of the tools that they had access to, okay? That's important because if that happens, you need to make sure you know what to do. So that means you need to have a process by which you follow whenever you have to drop an employee from your roles, okay? So that's probably the biggest thing there. Oh, you know, really important, make sure you pay your team on time. So if you pay them every 2 weeks, you know, make sure they have the expectation that you're going to pay them within a week after they give you an invoice. And have them give you an invoice that says that you worked, you know, that they worked 40 hours in the last 2 weeks, and you know, their hourly rate is this, and they owe you X amount of money, okay? And then pay them. I pay them through PayPal. I use the Friends tool. Send money to Friends tool on PayPal. It works really well. It takes a little bit to get them set up because of the fraud safeguards in PayPal. But once you get them going, it works just fine. All right, Troy, what do you think?
Brother, I think that it is covered and well done.
All right. Let's see. I just wanted to make sure, because I know we covered a lot of things. A lot of people asked some questions. I tried to incorporate all of their questions into our presentation here and make sure we got it on there. Let me just take a quick look here and make sure I got everything, because again, it's 11:50 and we went really long here. I was hoping to just go for an hour. But when you get in here and do questions and answers, you know, it kind of grows and grows. So let's see. I'm just looking here, my notes. Someone asked, you know, what's the optimal qualifications for establishing a dropshipping manager? So that's, you know, let me just answer that question, because I want to make sure everybody understands that it's a good idea to have a manager, okay? Because like I said, you want to remove yourself. Earlier I kind of mentioned having a staff do all the work. What that means is you should remove yourself from the day-to-day activities of your business. Ultimately, what I think you should do is have your own manager to remove yourself from the business so you can manage from a higher level, because I think Brian Trampish does this. He has a manager, and the manager does the majority of the day-to-day work, managing customer service, managing the staff and all that. And I think that's a really good way to go. Brian is fully, you know, this is his full-time job. So he's really, really working, and he's really tearing it up. He's doing fantastic work out there. So this is full-time occupation. This is his full-time business. And so he's got to have a staff, because otherwise he's not going to have the time to do all of the staff work and also grow his business. And this guy's growing his business. And he's not just growing it within Amazon, he's doing other things as well, which is like what I'm doing. I do FBA in addition to drop shipping. But the thing is if you have a manager, what you want to look for is someone that can literally replace you, who's smart. Again, I always say a good college education doesn't hurt. You need to have someone who speaks very fluent English. This is what I think a lot of people make a mistake and discount, you know, having someone with good English skills, because they think they're not going to get someone with English skills. Well, believe it or not, English, I think, is the official language in the Philippines. A lot of people still speak Tagalog and I think about 100 other dialects. But if you find people that have got a college education, they were educated in English. If you go to the college websites, they're in English. So there's a good chance you're going to find someone who's fluent in English. So, but the thing is with a manager, you know, I think if you're going to look for a manager, maybe you want to find someone that's already had experience in a drop shipping business. But this, again, needs to be someone that you can get along with really well. If you can do that and you find someone that gets along with you and your management style, then that's a good basis. Okay, the rest of it has to do with how do they manage a business, what is their scope of work. Are you going to make sure they're responsible for all the business or just a portion of the business? They need to have experience in that particular area. Okay, and then they have to be able to take responsibility. That kind of a personality that you want in someone who owns whatever it is they're responsible for, and then also understands the successes and takes responsibility for the failures. And of course, you want to pay them well. Okay, you want to pay them an appropriate amount of money. And again, that just depends on what you're looking for. So I think that's it. I think that pretty much ties everything into a bow, because what I was trying to establish here with everybody is that the business owner is responsible for their business. We shouldn't be making excuses for the failures of our business. We should own our success as well as our failures. And when you come into the holiday season, if you come in with that attitude, you watch your business like a hawk. You look for areas where it could be vulnerable, and you take measures to protect your business from your tools, from your people, from competitors. Okay? So when you're getting into the holidays, if you take that kind of an attitude and you take a very hands-on approach, and especially this time of year, you need to be very, very hands-on. You'll do a lot better. You'll come out a lot better after January, February than you will someone who doesn't do that. Okay? And you know, I think in this business, if you can stick it out for the long term, you're going to do better than those folks that come in for 3 months and leave. Okay? Because that's what happens when you have drop shippers that come in the business and they leave after 3 months, 6 months, a year. well, my business does better because now I've established myself as a better or more of a key player in this particular marketplace than all those people that drop away. And then all these new people come in with almost no feedback. So keep that in mind. Okay, guys, that's pretty much it. I think we went through all the questions that everybody sent out. I really want to thank everybody for sending in their questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Nathan, for compiling all those questions, and it's fun hanging out with you, Troy, as well. You know, I think this group is growing. You know, again, if you haven't heard, we hired Nathan Timbach. He's our site administrator. He's also our marketing analyst that helps us develop our marketing on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere else we're marketing our Seekers Guild product. You know, I just want to thank all of you for being members of this group. Our goal is really to help you become as successful as you want to be. We want to provide you all the help that you need to be successful and guide you. And at the same time, help you whenever you're making a mistake and kind of tell you, you know, hey, you're making a mistake here. Let's kind of resolve this situation. We try to take a positive attitude, not just on the business aspect of it, but in the mindset aspect of it. And that's really where Troy is. You see a lot of his you know, his ads are out there are growing, and it's, you know, about establishing a business that meets your lifestyle needs. And if you can establish your business and establish a complementary lifestyle, you're really going to benefit from it, because, you know, if you're not happy with your business, you're not happy with your lifestyle, if you're working all day and you're not enjoying yourself, then why do it? You know, have fun, take days off, enjoy your family, enjoy your life, but, you know, don't let your business become your life. And so that's kind of words to live by in my mind. You know, I just took a trip recently to Hawaii with my family, and I wasn't worrying about my business too much. You know, I had a staff that was doing the majority of the work. I had to check in here and there, but really not very much. I was out, you know, riding ATVs through the rainforest, you know, hanging out on the beach, getting a tan. And then I was with my family having fun, just playing, you know, enjoying my relationship with my wife, Linda, and just, you know, enjoying my mom and my mother-in-law. But it's all about mindset, you know, and I think Troy can help you a lot. If you're struggling with, you know, getting, you know, through the mindset that you need to have as an entrepreneur, I think Troy can really help you out with that. And I really think you should really seek out his help, because if you're not well-rounded, you're not going to enjoy your life. You're not going to enjoy your business. This is a business that should be a lot of fun, and that a lot of people can just really enjoy, you know, doing. Because it's not just the drop shipping aspect of it. There's a lot more to this business. You can establish your own business on Shopify. You can go into other marketplaces. Hey, maybe even later on you start your own group, and I won't be at all objectionable to that. I think that'd be a great thing if you can develop your own community. But we want to help you guys and support you guys in any way we can. You know, keep your questions coming on our Inner Circle Facebook group. We want to hear from you. We want to get a lot of interactivity from the group. So, guys, thank you all so much. Troy, any parting words?
Well, Brian, thanks so much for that shout out at the end about mindset and being well-rounded. The only thing I'd like to share is the books that I'm reading right now. There's two of them that have been a tremendous game changer for me. The first one is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The Obstacle is the Way. Get it on Audible, get the real book. It's amazing. This is a book that was produced with Tim Ferriss. And then the second one, which I believe everybody will benefit from, is called How to Be an Adult in Love, Letting Love In Safely and Showing It Recklessly by David Richo.
Oh, look, there they are.
And so, well, you look at those. Right on. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, without a doubt, is definitely something to have and to listen to on a daily basis. It helps us to get over the resistance we have to taking action. And I'll post those up once we have this video up and rocking. But that's the key thing, man. Financial success is wonderful, but if your relationships are falling apart or your health is falling apart, it really is meaningless, and it is not the life that a person deserves. We deserve it all. And so there's a process. Life is a skill, love is a skill, health and wellness is a skill, and obviously earning great money on with Amazon is a skill. So I appreciate you, Brian. This was a great training. I think people are going to have tremendous benefit from this. and I'm grateful. So with that, I'm going to get back at it on my side and hand it back to you, my friend.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate you as well. I think, we develop an awesome synergy between us, me, the analytical, and you, the I don't know, what do you want to call it? The intrinsic, I think. It's all that self-motivation and really self-actualization, I think, is a really good word to use for what you're trying to help us do. But yeah, everybody, I really appreciate y'all, and I hope you learned from this, and I hope you watch this over and over again. And ultimately, I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. Really looking forward to hear about your success. Love to hear about your success on the Facebook group. So please post it out there. Tell us how well you're doing. Tell us what you're learning. Tell us some problems that you're having and how you solve them. And we'll check in with you again. So keep in mind, we'll see each other again next week on the next drop shipping session. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
What's that? I think we lost Troy. He was in the middle of something.
No, I said cheers and have a great Saturday, everybody.
Oh, there you go. Everybody, have an awesome Saturday. Take care, everybody. Oh, no. Here we go.